Video is going to be a little bit longer video because I want to do a financial plan, or at least show you a financial plan in my financial planning software. And the idea for this came about because I've been talking about the magic number to retire. In episode 44 of my podcast, that's Retire on Your Best Path with Liz Whittaberry. In that episode, number 44, we talked about the magic number to retire, which based on this study that is done by Northwestern Mutual every January. And this year's study showed that people think that they need 1.56 million on average to retire. Now there's some differences depending on age. And so I dig into that a little bit in the podcast. And then I've also posted some YouTube videos recently that talk about the magic number and different aspects of that. But today I want to look at a financial plan. And how does somebody that has about $1.5 million, how does it look for their retirement over their lifetime? And what are some things that they should think about? And so that's what I don't want to dive into today. I am going to share my screen and we're going to walk through this plan, and then I'll point out some things along the way. And hopefully it will give you some good information that you can use to think about your own retirement planning, no matter whether you have more, you have less. Hopefully it'll point out some things that you want to think about. So let's dive in. Let me share my screen. And we're now looking at the plan in my planning software for Randy and Jenny Zample. This is a sample client. And as you can see, Randy and Jenny have about 1.5 million in retirement savings. We see that they've got, of that, about 83% in qualified retirement assets. So that's in 401k and traditional IRA. And the rest of it is in joint investment account and money in the bank. Now, how does that look? Let's start by getting a picture of where Randy and Jenny are. Where are they at in their cycle in retirement planning? So Randy is 60 years old. Jenny is 59. They are planning to retire at age 65. And the reason they're planning to do that is because that allows them to go on Medicare. And they've already looked into the cost of health insurance before Medicare and determined that it's more than they want to spend. I do have clients that are retiring at 60 or 62 and paying for that insurance in those gap years. But it has to be accounted for, and it has to, be something that the plan will support. For Randy and Jenny, they are going to wait until 65 when they can transition directly onto Medicare and not have the very high cost before then. They are both working. They have stable jobs. They're both earning a decent salary, and they're going to have Social Security. And so we see that that we've put in the program that they will start their Social Security at 65 when they retire. And that will give them some cash flow at the point in time that they're no longer working. Currently, they're spending about $105,000 a year. That doesn't count taxes. The program calculates the taxes over and above whatever the other expenses are, and it calculates the taxes based upon what is the actual income for the year, how much is coming from a taxable account versus a IRA versus salary. It's going to calculate the right type of tax for the type of income. And so we don't enter the tax numbers in, we just enter all of the other expenses. And they're currently spending about $105,000, but they think that when they retire that they can drop that because they're both eating out a lot for lunches. They're both, for breakfast, for lunch. They are driving to work. They've got a lot of other expenses related to work, clothing wise and the like. And so they think that their expenses will go down in retirement. Now, that's something that we would dive into and really look at closely. But for the purpose of this look, let's say that that's the case, that they're going to have lower expenses in retirement, but they're going to then have to add back the medical because currently their medical is covered by their company. And so we're going to add back $6,000 today's dollars for each of them starting at age 65. That's going to get their Medicare Part B, their Medicare Part D, and their supplement. And maybe a little bit of a dental vision policy on top of that. That's not very expensive. They also want to travel. They want to travel in the first 10 years and do some sort of a big trip every year or every other year so that they can go and do and see and experience things that they have wanted to experience while they're younger, while they're healthier, while they have the ability to do that. And on top of that, they do charitable giving. They give to their church and they want to continue doing that. And so we're going to set that up in a couple different time periods. You'll see the reason for that when we get into the plan. They're both saving. They're saving the maximum amount. Now they have over the last, 5-10 years paid off all their debt. The house is now paid for. The cars are paid for. They're newer cars, so they don't think they'll need to replace a car for quite a while after they retire. And so that is good. And they're invested in roughly a 60-40 portfolio. We see that it's expecting that they'll earn about 6.1% on the average in a 60-40 portfolio. And this risk number is an indication of the amount of volatility in that portfolio. And so that has them invested, pretty traditionally for somebody that is of their age and at their stage in life, not overly risky, but not too conservative either. And so how does that play out in their plan? We're going to jump back into the plan now, and we're going to look at how this projects out over the rest of their life. And we see that it's basically looks like it's going up and then starting to taper off at the end. Now, this is showing us this in the future value dollars. So it's not adjusting it for what is it worth in spending dollars. We can always take a look at what is the present value of that to say, well, based on inflation, how much spending power would you have? And we see that that is declining gradually and steadily over their lifetime. But let's talk about the projection and what this is really showing us. This is showing us the projection at the average return. So this assumes that they're getting that average return each and every year. We know that that's not reality. We know that the market will be up and down. And so if we were looking at it based on that, we would see years that it's up, years that it's down. And that's what would be reality. However, when we're looking at the projection, we're going to look at this average because then we can see what's the difference if we do some of these planning strategies. How much of a difference does that make to them? These first years are their working years. You see where Randy retires at 65, where Jenny retires at 65. We've got Randy passing away at age 89 and Jenny at age 93. And those ages were picked because those are the average life expectancies for men and women today. Now, I normally run a plan longer than average life expectancy, but I wanted to show the plan initially at average life expectancy because I want to then be able to compare, well, what if they live longer? I'm often asked, why would I want to project it out longer? And the reason being that we are living longer, and we do have to think about the fact that we're living longer, that our longevity is improving each and every year, and that even though our parents or our grandparents may not have lived past these ages, that we very well could. And so we want to be able to look at how that impacts a plan. And I want to show the impact of that separately here in a little bit. One of the things that we would look at is, well, how does a plan project out over time? And this is looking at their plan if they do nothing. They retire at 65, they spend the money that we talked about a minute ago, they don't make any changes to anything. How does the plan project out over their lifetime? And that blue line in the middle is that average return. They could have better than average return, they could have worse than average return. We could have a better than average economy in the future or a worse than average economy. We don't really know exactly what's going to happen. And so this is projecting their results roughly 1,000 times and simulating the results in different economic periods, different markets, up markets, down markets, different combinations. We might have good returns early or good returns later. And so this is giving us an idea of what the future could possibly be. Now, when doing financial planning, retirement planning, the thing that I always say is that it's important to look at what this projection is, make any changes that will improve it, but then on a regular basis, each year come back and look at it again to see if we need to make any other changes at that point in time, make any tweaks, where we at on this path so that we can continue to stay within that middle range over time. And that's the importance of having ongoing financial planning so that you can stay on track, stay on your best path over your retirement. You don't just set it and then never do anything about it. So they're currently, it says, at a 76% probability of success. You see that below the graph. And then you see the range of portfolio assets is a negative number up to 9.6 million. So we want to look at, can we improve the range in the future? Can we narrow that? Can we make that not negative? And there's some things that they could do. One thing they can do is delay their Social Security to age 70 because it gives them a higher amount later on. And it turns out in their situation, that makes a difference. I've got clients where it doesn't make a difference. And a lot depends on how much is Social Security playing into your expenses, how big a percentage of it is your Social Security payment, how much surplus in assets do you have, what are your ages, are you close in age, is there a gap in age, and how long are you expecting to live? So there's a lot that goes into picking the right Social Security for any one plan for any couple. And in their case, delaying Social Security does improve their plan. You see that they're now at 79% probability of success, and they don't have a negative. They have a positive on the lower portfolio out here. They also have less potential on the top line. It's now 9.2 million, but that's because they had to spend some of their own money earlier on that didn't get that growth. Another thing that they can do is reinvest so that they have less volatility. So this would still be, a similar 6 to 6.5% return, but with less volatility. And what that does is it reduces the spread of the assets out here. So now they're at a 79% probability of success. And again, they have a positive number on as not a negative number on the bottom, and not quite as high a number on the top because they don't have the potential to get quite as high of a return, but they also don't have as much volatility, negative volatility either. The other thing that they can do is some tax planning, and they can use their IRA in the years that they have low tax. They can do some Roth conversions, and they can set up the charitable giving on a very tax advantage basis. And those all improve. If we weren't doing that, they would have a bigger negative number. So those do provide some improvement to their plan. When we combine all of those, what we see is that it brings them up to 85% probability of success. And then they're between 1.3 million and almost 11 million, it says, in assets at the end. So they have improved more than one area. And the combination of those improvements has improved the probability of success for them. It has improved the range of future assets. Now let's look at the taxes they have over their retirement years. If they don't do anything, then here's what their taxes would look like. They are working, they've got fairly high taxes in those years. Then when they are both retired, they have almost no taxes. They would be taking Social Security, they would be supplementing with money that's coming from their taxable accounts, and they're paying no taxes. And I've had people say to me, very excited that they're paying no taxes in those years right after they retire. It's a good feeling to pay no taxes, but it's short-sighted to think that that's going to continue, because at some point in time you hit the required minimum distribution age, and then when the first spouse passes away, the survivor has to file as a single filer, and so the taxes really jump up at that point for the survivor. We call that the widow's tax. And so over their lifetime, they're going to end up paying $1,100,000 in taxes, $1,150,000 just about. If they do these things that we talked about a minute ago, do the tax planning, then they are saving $174,000 in taxes over their lifetime, significantly helping the widow with the widow's tax down the future. And that is the reason that it is an improvement to their plan. Yes, they're paying more tax early on, but they're leveling out their taxes and they're reducing their lifetime tax bill. And that is a very important part of a good retirement plan. The tax planning is a very important piece. Now, I do have a webinar that I've done on taxes in retirement. And so I'll put a link in the notes under this video that lets you see where you can log in and watch that. You can watch it at your leisure because it's something that's recorded. And so you have the ability to watch that when you want to watch that. And it goes into some more detail on taxes in retirement and doing that tax planning. So I encourage you to look at that if that would help you with your retirement. So let's go back to their projection. And here's what we looked at initially with no changes. Now, if they live 6 years longer, how does that continue to flow for them? Well, we see that they're in this end period of life where, because inflation has increased over time, Social Security hasn't kept up with inflation because it does not keep up with retiree spending inflation. And they're digging into their accounts a little more each year. There's a little left to earn, some interest or some growth. And so their accounts have come down. They haven't run out of money, but their accounts have come down. What if they do all of these things that we talked about? Well, that helps them maintain an account balance that is more steady over their retirement years. And that is something that they definitely want to do. Make those changes that will improve their future retirement portfolio down the road. Now, we could look at, with this improvement, do they want to spend a little bit more on travel in some of these early years? Maybe they do. There could be some other things that we could look at in order to help them live the life that they want to live in retirement, but make sure that they have the money that they need to always support all of their spending needs over their retirement. And we see in these years here where the portfolio is lower, it's because we're not taking Social Security yet, so we're drawing down from those account balances, and we're doing some Roth conversions, so we're settling up on some of the taxes, but that helps us get some money into a bucket that will never have any taxes in the future, not even on the growth. And so those are good things. We're having that impact on the short-term portfolio in order to improve the long-term portfolio and keep them at a much higher probability of success. And so back to the Monte Carlo simulation one more time, we see that even if they live another 6 years, that they just about break even on the bottom line. We would need to make a few more tweaks to have this not be a negative number, and that allows them to know that they're going to be on a very good path, no matter if they live till their life expectancy or they live beyond their life expectancy. And so with that, that is retirement planning. That is what a plan will show. And you want to think through the different aspects that could impact you. So with this couple, I would be looking at, well, when do we need to buy cars again? Is that built into the plan? Is that priced into the spending? What about healthcare needs later in life? What could that look like, and how might you cover those? They do still have their home that's not included in this, and I didn't put it in the into the software because I wanted to be able to look at the percentages of their assets in the buckets of taxable, tax deferred, tax free, without having the house mess up those percentages. But the house would be an asset that they would still have. So there's things that we could look at in order to think about the long term and what the needs they might have in the future and how those are covered. And we can model those out. And that's something that I can model in a different video. So my plan is I'm going to do another one of these next month, but I'm going to look at somebody that has around 4 to 5 million in assets at retirement, because that is what I see often with people that are coming in to do planning. They have that 4 to 5 million, maybe a little bit more. And how does that work for their lifestyle, for supporting the things that they want to do relative to travel, giving to family members, giving to charities, all of the things that they want to do to have a very full and satisfying retirement, and yet still ensure that all of their needs are met over their retirement years. One more thought I have is that if you are looking at retirement and you have not put a plan together and you haven't talked through all of the different issues that could impact your plan, what are the things that could impact your plan in the short term, in the midterm, in the long term, and what are the things that you can do to improve your plan so that you're making the most of your retirement, but you're also protecting yourself for the long term. If you don't have that, you haven't put that together, you haven't talked to somebody about that, and you'd like to talk to me about that, then feel free to reach out, schedule a discovery meeting, a complimentary session. I'm going to put my link to my calendar here in the show notes. And so that's something that you can do. We can have a quick conversation and see if it might be a place where I could help you or give you some pointers on where to find the best information that you can get for your situation. And so with that, I want to say thank you for listening to this video. I hope that it's giving you some food for thought to help you be on your best path in your retirement, because that is my goal. I want to help you be on your best path in retirement. And I am going to stop sharing that and say, with that, have a very good day, and I look forward to talking to you at some point in the future.